So if you're looking for the answers, still don't have them. But what I do have is a particular set of skills I've acquired over a very long career. Skills that make me a nightmare for people who mislead, misinform, or misrepresent the sports card industry. So if you don't do that, I'll let it go. If you do, I'm going to talk about you. Guys, welcome to another episode of the Sports Card Investigator. My name is Andy. I am the aforementioned Sports Card Investigator, and welcome to this brand new show. So, before we dive into what I'm going to talk about today, let's give a quick LaMelo Ball update. It looks very well. By the time, maybe even by the time you see this episode, he may be back on the court, because as of today, he was going to practice with the team. So what I've been reading up on is he may very well find himself back on the court. And as interestingly facts would have it, I checked his odds for Rookie of the Year, and wouldn't you know it, he is now back in the lead over Anthony Edwards. He was, as of today, he was a minus 330, and Anthony Edwards is second choice at plus 240. So I am anxious to see where this goes from here. The betting odds are definitely now favoring LaMelo as this crazy NBA season continues. So, another video and another PSA storyline, right? Big news, acquisition by PSA of a company called Genamint. And like I have said before, the sports card community, gotta love it. It is a copycat industry, and there is nothing wrong with that. It is not a bad thing. Everyone has different opinions, and everyone has food for thought. So by the time you see this episode, this topic would already have been hashed over, hashed under, hash browned, hypothesized, opinionized, discussed, dismissed, you name it, it's been done to it. So I encourage you, as I always will do, is to make sure that you guys look, if you look at the other videos, draw your own conclusions. Free will, right? And I'm anxious to see what this acquisition will actually mean to PSA going forward. Because until the new system, the new protocols are in place, it's only speculation on what it will actually mean on how this affects the overall PSA process going forward. Now, with that said, it does look positive. And it looks positive to me, especially if it speeds up the intake and the entire grading process and makes it more efficient, right? That is what we always strive for. I always told my guys, work smarter sometimes and not harder. So I'm all for this. But one interesting thing from the article that caught my eye, and it's funny how you're looking at one thing or whatever part of the article, it'll strike you, and that one part of the article sent me sliding down a rabbit hole. Kate Morton said it. She said, "Don't slide down the rabbit hole. The way down is a breeze, but getting back up is the battle." She's absolutely right. It's a bitch to get back up once you start rolling down that hill. So the article states that each card has a different combinations of 70 major anomalies that they've identified. It's interesting stuff. From major ones like creases or scratches, and stains, and even down to the single pixels that are compromised. And I'm quoting from the article. Based on learnings made from every... Who says that? Based on learnings. I guess English majors. Anyway, the machine will be able to pick up if a card is trimmed or if a person has cracked out a card that was previously graded in hopes of getting a better grade. That is a very, I use interestingly way too much, but that's a very interesting comment. And you know what? I got no problem with that. And I actually touched on that a little bit on the last video. And And I have seen and read about guys that continuously crack out slabs, PSA slabs, or whatever, BGS, PSA, but PSA slabs, and crack them out and resubmit them over and over again until they get the grade that they want. And that's a decision that they have made. But now, it looks as though, and time will tell, it looks as though this is not going to be possible going forward, or at least it's going to be more challenging. Can you guys hear that? It's the sound of people cracking PSA slabs as we speak. Well, hang on there, cowboy. You resubmitted a Kobe card from your last video and got a higher grade. I absolutely did, but here we're talking apples and oranges, or slab versus non-slab cards, because that card came back without a grade. Much different. And I did indeed submit it, and the circumstances were outlined in my previous video, but I didn't crack it, and it was never graded before it was resubmitted, I think. And to quote my friend Billy Shakespeare, therein lies the rub. So as of now, I have not heard this specific topic or issue discussed on other content creator channels. They skirted around it. Some guys talked a little bit about it. They didn't really get into the crux of the matter where I'm going to talk about. And I think it's because I am one of the only content creators that I see. Now, I'm sure there are others. But when I submit cards to PSA, I, for the majority of the time, will put in that submission a minimum grade. Meaning, which I'm sure a lot of you guys know, that if I submit a new card, a modern card, I will say don't grade the card unless it's a 9 or a 10. If I'm submitting an older card, that's say 10, 15 years old, that I know that if it comes back a 7 or a 6 or even less, it'll still hold value, then I'll adjust. Kind of like the Kobe card when I resubmitted it because I saw the card was going up and up in value. So remember that rabbit hole? Hang on, boys and girls, because we're about to go way, way down. So I was thinking after I read this article, a couple questions. One, will PSA do away with the minimum grade? If PSA's goal is to stop the cracking and resubmitting of the same card, to not to regrade it, then one would have to deduce, like my other good friend Sherlock Holmes, that the minimum grade would have to be done away with, right? Well, why? Well, if you get the card back ungraded, what would prevent you from just resubmitting it again and asking for another minimum grade? Well, in a perfect world, the card did not meet the grading standard that was requested, so it wouldn't be graded. Now, when I get the card back, it just means exactly that. It doesn't meet the minimum grade standard. When it comes back to me in a card saver and a sticker, but not the grade it would have received. So even if your card does not meet the minimum grade, you're still paying for the grade. You're charged and the card is returned ungraded. That's the chance I take when I ask for a minimum grade. So what would prevent someone from just putting down a minimum grade of 9 or 10 and keep resubmitting? So if I was PSA, which I'm not, but I'm available for consultation PSA anytime, and I wanted to follow through with not getting a card resubmitted, only grading a card once, there are only, in my opinion, opinions are like assholes, everyone has one, I know. There are only two options. One, eliminate the minimum grade. Simple. Get the card slabbed no matter what, which I would not like to see. Two, which I think could be more likely, again, I have no inside information, nor do I know how they're going to go through with this. The card would be analyzed and graded like any other card, but it'll be returned unslabbed in the card saver with the grade it would have received, or a disclaimer that, hey, this card would have received a grade of 7, or it's been logged into the system again with the grade it would have received, and if it's returned unslabbed, it will be flagged. And down the rabbit hole we go. So if PSA goes with option 2, even though the card was not graded, it has already been logged into the system. It's kind of like fingerprints, right? When I was working with DEA, we would, we'd arrest someone, we'd take their fingerprints, we'd run them through the database. Oh, they're in the database, they arrested this time, that time, give them a full criminal history on the individual. So if the card comes back in, it gets scanned again. Does it then give us a history of the card? So let's say the individual gets back the card from PSA, and he's been told, hey, it's logged in. So he's like, well, if I send it back in, it's just not going to come back any better because they're going to flag it. No problem. I'll throw it up on eBay. See where I'm going here? So you see that beautiful Lamello Groove Revolution card, and you win the auction. Whoopee. Not knowing the grade already did not hit a grade that you could be submitting for. That makes sense. Nothing in the description persuades you that the card is not PSA ready. In fact, it says it in the listing. PSA ready. Because all eBay sellers are honest and trustworthy. So you win the auction, you get back the card, it looks decent, and you send it in for the grade. Well, what happens? Well, again, like my friend Sherlock, we can deduce that the card will be of equal or inferior shape from the first time it was submitted. It's been handled, maybe changed, gone into another sleeve, maybe that, who knows? But you submit it to PSA, and then what happens? And this is where things could get very interesting. Does PSA inform the submitter that the card has been submitted prior and already has received a grade? Is the eBayer then on the hook, not as described? I mean, for me, I will buy cards on eBay for grading. And usually it's pretty soon after the release, so I know the card did not come back. But if you're looking at cards now that are 2 and 3 years old, they very well could have been sent to PSA, not graded, not hit the minimum grade. You get them back, send them back, and you realize with this new system that they have already been through PSA. It's something I've been thinking about. I ran it by the guys I talk to on a daily basis. I just don't know. So I'm pretty sure I would have to believe that PSA has thought about this going forward. So it'll be very, very interesting. And I can see where they're going to have to work out when you send a card in and you ask for a minimum grade, is it still logged in? So if it comes back, we will know. And then what happens after that? I know, rabbit hole stuff. Let me know what you guys think about that, and we'll have to see going forward what actually occurs. So speaking of eBay, recently there's been some interesting happenings with eBay, specifically regarding the sale or auctions of graded cards. Specifically, if you put up a graded card on eBay and compare it to another grading company, in the description, ISBG, example, PSA, BGS, whatever, there is a very good possibility it will be removed by eBay and deemed counterfeit. Now, I know what you're thinking. Why would eBay deem a perfectly good CG, SGC, CSG, HGA, GMA, ABC, whatever the flavor of the day slab card as counterfeit? Good question. Well, for that, let's look at the definition of counterfeit. It's to imitate something authentic with the intent to steal, destroy, or replace the original for use in illegal transactions. Or otherwise deceive individuals into believing that the fake is of equal or greater value than the real thing. Now, I don't think that anyone puts up these cards and they're counterfeit. But one could argue that by including PSA in the title, you are tricking people into thinking they are buying what they are not, i.e. a slab that holds the same value, which for the most part is a fact, not in evidence. But if you actually thought that your case, your slab, held equal value, whether what it may be, then why would you have to list another company in the title? Hey, I am just a messenger. I'm just here to raise the questions. Remember, I don't have all the answers. And 2 other content creators put out videos on this topic, and they were really good. I would just encourage you guys to watch it. They really get into the weeds on this. Retro Hoop Collectibles and Flipping Steve. 2 really good content creators. So go check them out. So I really debated bringing up this last topic. I can't help it. I know it's going to bring out the haters. And you know what? It's just, again, something for you guys to think about, because it's been a really, really hot topic in the card world recently. And I know people are just trying to capitalize on a situation, and I get it, and more power to them. So it seems that the decision made by PSA to basically shut down till July, as well as other companies, getting backlogged and raising prices, has spawned an influx of new grading companies. And good for them. But is it good for us? Is it good for the card collecting community to, on a daily basis, have these unproven companies pop up? No idea. I was talking about this with my son, and I said, it seems anyone can open up a grading company. He said, not really. You got to have a plan, equipment, infrastructure. I said, I get it, but what I am seeing and have observed over the last few months with these new grading companies coming up, there was one that popped up yesterday that I just shook my head on. I think anyone could start a grading company, and I don't know if it's good or bad. And a lot of these guys are going for interviews, and I haven't interviewed them, and nor do I really care to have them on my show at this point. But if I did interview these new companies, I would ask them the following questions. And guys, if you're listening, the other content creators who are much more influential than me, if you get these guys on, ask them these 3 questions. First question: with all the new grading companies coming out, what makes you different? Simple question. Second question: right or wrong, don't you think the influx of all these grading companies will dilute or hurt the grading process overall, and in doing so, it will actually increase the demand for the more established companies? And 3, what can be done by your company to actually compete with the big boys as far as value, when now even some established companies cannot match the value of some of the other companies? And you know what I'm talking about. Here's the thing. All of these new companies in the short term will be successful. Why? Because people are going to send their cards in to be graded and slabbed. They are. You might be doing so as we speak. It's fine. Free will. So my question to you guys is, why? What's your end game? If it's just to encase your card in plastic and have a nice, beautiful label for your personal collection, perfect. It's perfect. But if you think by sending the card to be graded by a new company, it's automatically going to increase the value, I just don't think that's the case. And I'm the first one to admit, HGA is getting some hobby love and getting some high prices. And I'm not sure why that is. I don't know if it's going to continue. It may. I don't know. Time will tell. I'm just trying to figure out what the mindset is. And feel free to comment on this. Is it the newness? Is it the big FU to the other grading companies? Is it a financial advantage because they're cheaper? Is it speed? Is it you just like the way they're doing things? And remember, we're talking about an unregulated industry. Anything goes. Anything goes. And I was joking with my son and the other guys, and I, you know, my wife is a great cook and a spectacular baker. She makes some of the tastiest treats known to man. Her chocolate cheesecake is to die for. And I told Tyler that I can have his mother make some hard panes of sugar. We could put the card in between it. We could throw a label on it, and we're set. The Tasty Grading Company is born. You can get a tasty treat when you crack the slab. Just keep it away from the heat or the sun. But if you do, you could just liquidate. Look, it's stupid, I know. So let me know what you guys are thinking. Every single day we're getting more and more and more of new grading companies. And, you know, I may have a couple cards that, you know, some of these slabs are spectacular looking. They're awesome. So I might send a card that I have no intention of selling or you know, for whatever reason. But I just don't know if all these grading companies popping up on a daily basis is good for the industry. I know competition is great, but it's one other thing that time is going to tell. So, next couple episodes, I'm going to get back. We're going to target some players. We're going to talk about some players. I'm going to give you the pros, the cons. I'm going to have some guests on. I'll get Tyler to come back. He's got a player he wants to talk about. So if you like what you see, hit the like, hit the subscribe. If you don't like what you see, hit the like, hit the subscribe. We are just expanding our subscriber. Our Sports Card Investigator show is evolving as we speak. So I really appreciate the support. You guys know that. So until next time, take care.